Alright guys, so Bob Arum's come out saying that it's not 100% certain that the Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder trilogy is next. So let's quickly get to what Bob Arum's actually said. Bob Arum said, "We have a contract with Wilder for the third fight. Now we have punted it into October because July was too early, but who knows if we can do fights in October for spectators. Without the massive gate that we did for the last fight, the 17 million US dollars, I don't know how you do that. And then we have a further problem, that is a travel ban. I mean, Fury's back in the UK and Wilder's here in the United States. We have to see how Fury gets back into the United States with the travel ban. What's he supposed to do? Swim the Atlantic? So again, to talk about Fury versus Wilder fight is very, very premature until we see how this situation, not just involving boxing, but the whole situation works itself out. We don't really know," he concluded. So those are the words of Bob Arum. And Bob Arum's kind of like obviously concerned because there's so uncertain in boxing right now. Because obviously you have some countries that might reopen before other countries. And then, you know, if you have, for example, in the UK, in the United States, if one country is to open first or is to stay, you know, locked off longer than another country, do we have a scenario where other fighters are fighting and then we have fighters from other countries that can't fight? I think that's what Bob Arum is kind of alluding to. I think he's kind of alluding to Tyson Fury potentially fighting in the UK, maybe fighting another fighter who's based in the UK as well, potentially, if travel restrictions are not lifted. So is there a scenario where we might see Tyson Fury fight another fighter in the UK? You know, how watertight is that contract for the trilogy between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder? Obviously, Bob Arum knows how watertight it is, and so does Al Heyman and the PBC side. So it'll be interesting to see what actually transpires, because at the moment there's no boxing, no sport, no football, no soccer, like the Americans like to call it, no NBA, no nothing. I think Premier League are talking about opening up, doing behind closed doors games. Is behind closed doors boxing, is that option? Because I saw somewhere, I think on another article somewhere, Frank Warren talking about the Fury versus Wilder or some other fights, whether it's being behind closed doors. He said it's not an option, especially for big, massive fights. You really want an airy arena? Not like the aura of it just doesn't seem very, for a massive heavyweight fight. Empty arena. How do you do a ring walk with no music, with no crowd? I don't think that's a great atmosphere, in my opinion. Some other people might say, we just want to see boxing. But I think for me, part of the spectacle, whether you're there live or even watching it on pay-per-view, the spectacle of seeing the crowd there, seeing the ring walk, thinking about what people, it's just a whole different, ball game when you've got a crowd there. The atmosphere is totally different, and it feeds back through pay-per-view, so to speak. So for me, whether Bob Arum insinuated maybe Tyson Fury could take another fight within the UK, or Deontay Wilder potentially taking another fight within the United States if travel restrictions aren't lifted, might be quite interesting. Because who would Tyson Fury actually fight if that happened? Because I don't know, who would Deontay Wilder fight? No, I think Deontay Wilder has more options in terms of less risky fights in the United States compared to, Tyson Fury. Because what other heavyweights out there who are based in the UK are out there that Tyson Fury potentially take on? Not really much credible, opponents out there. But Deontay Wilder's still got a Karnacki he can pick from. If he wants to fight Andy Ruiz, he's still got that option. He could fight, as a takeover, he could fight a Charles Martin. Who would Tyson Fury fight? There's Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce. Never know what could happen. Maybe those are fight. But to be honest, those two guys they still got their own fight lined up. So that might not be an option for Tyson Fury. So it might be interesting to see. Maybe Frank Warren could set something up for Tyson Fury. But at the same time, I don't think that Deontay Wilder side or the PBC side are really gonna want Tyson Fury taking on any other guys before taking on Deontay Wilder. Because what if Tyson Fury fights Dubois, the shock happens and then he gets knocked out? What happened? Like, what happens to the WBC? What happens to Tyson Fury's trilogy? It's blown up it's blown out the water. So for me, I don't think Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury are gonna fight before the trilogy. You know, I don't think that I don't see that gonna happen, because who wants the big money, you know, potentially get put in jeopardy? Tyson Fury's gonna make a lot of money. Deontay Wilder's gonna make a lot of money. All they need to do is wait for the trilogy to happen. May the best man win, and then both of them are gonna make a huge sum of money. Tyson Fury, I believe, gets 60% of the gate, 60%, you know, percentage. Deontay gets 40% percentage in the trilogy. Why jeopardize the money by, you know, potentially Tyson Fury taking on a banana skin opponent? Because we've seen Tyson Fury take on guys like Otto Wallin, fighters that you think are not going to get outdone and worked over, and they actually bring it. And you saw what Otto Wallin did against a Fury that had no WBC. Imagine Tyson Fury taking on, you know, a decent opponent with the WBC Ring Magazine. Now they're going to bring all the smoke. So I think the best for Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder is to wait on the trilogy, see what happens. They both got more time to prepare as well, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. And another thing to look at is that what happens with the WBC mandatory shot? How is Dillian White going to get his title shot against either one of these guys? The whole backlog, everything's going to get pushed back, and so it's going to be interesting to see how the scheduling and timetable resumes once everything comes back together. So drop your comments in the comment section below. What do you think about the words of Bob Arum talking about he's not 100% certain Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder's next? Drop your comments in the comment section below. What do you guys think? Cool.